Alright, sixth video of the day. Got the World Cup on, watching Sweden versus Switzerland. Got myself a green tea because I'm becoming a bit of a pony, a little horse. So got that going so we can do this video, get her done quick. So this is area of squares, rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. Whew. So we're going to get all these done now because these are kind of like a review for you because you did this a lot in junior high and it's just kind of a reminder of, hey, here's how we do this, so we can use it for the big stuff when we get to the 3D solids. So base and height. I added this after I'd done the prep for this video because I remembered the base and the height are important. The base and height always meet at a right angle. Base and height always meet at a right angle. So that's how you know where the base and the height are. If there's not a right angle, it ain't the base and the height that you need. So, square. You're going to see this on all of them. I'm going to have the formula in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to do an example here, and then you're going to have an example to do on your own here. So the formula for a area of a square is base times height, or we could call it length times width. Now if you recall, squares, all sides are equal, congruent. Therefore, if you know one side, you know them all. So we're going to do the area. It's going to be the base and the height. So the base is 3, because you see this right angle, base and height, right there. 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And when we do the units, all of these units are squared. So it's 9 feet squared. And again, with the base and height thing, I highly suggest you circle the right angle. And the two sides that it touches, the two lines that it touches, as long as you don't draw a gigantic circle, is your base and your height. So over here, we have another square. I want you to go ahead, pause the video, find the area of this square on your own. Now, before you do that, I want you to realize that we have, a decimal here, which may mean we're going to have some rounding. So for this, I want you to go ahead and just round it to the nearest tenth. So round it to the first decimal place. So go ahead, pause the video, do that now. Alright, now here's my work for that. Go ahead and check your work with mine. After you do that, we're going to move on to rectangles. Now rectangle has the same formula, base times height, length or length times width. The only thing different is that in a rectangle, we're not going to have all congruent sides, so we're going to have different numbers. So we identify the base and the height. It's 2.3 and 4. So area is going to be 2.3 times 4. And again, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. We're going to do that for all of them. So 2.3 times 4 is 9.2. No rounding needed. And this little mark means inches. So it's inches squared. So now go ahead, pause the video, and do the one on the right. Find the area of that rectangle. Okay, so go ahead and check your work with mine, make sure we did all right. And then after that, we're going to move on to parallelograms. Now, I'm hoping that you're thinking this. Wait a second, squares and rectangles are parallelograms. So why are we doing a separate parallelogram? Well, you'll notice that the base and the height formula is the same. So that's why the area of a square and a rectangle, it's base and height, because for any parallelogram here, it's going to be base multiplied by height. We're doing parallelograms themselves, and they're not going to be a square or rectangle. So these are going to be the funny looking slanted ones anytime you do the area of a parallelogram here. So on the left, we are going to find the area. You see right here, right angle, we're there. So the base and the height. So the area equals 4 times 6.2. Do that in our fancy calculator, and we get 24.8 meters squared. So now, you probably guessed it, I want you to go ahead, pause the video, try this on your own. So go ahead and do that now. And here's the solution to that. So go ahead and check your work with mine. And now we're going to move on to triangles. So before we actually start doing the math here, let's talk about the formula. Base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 times base times height. There's a base times height in there, which is weird. We have been working with 3 things that are like that. Here's the reason. Now I want you to put this separate from these pictures here. Or you can just erase it. You don't even have to write this down if you don't want to. Here's a rectangle, square, whatever. It's a parallelogram. Well, what happens if I cut that parallelogram in half? I get 2 triangles. So the formula for a triangle area is basically taking the parallelogram and cutting it in half. Because that's what we did. We took a parallelogram, we cut it in half to make a triangle. So let's actually start doing this. So it doesn't matter which one you use, they'll both give you the correct answer as long as you type things in the calculator appropriately and you pick the correct numbers. So our base and our height meet at that right angle. So it's going to be base 4 times 2, which is the height, divided by 2. Do that in the calculator, or do it in your head, and you get 4 inches squared. So now I want you to go ahead, pause the video, and work out the triangle on the right. Okay. Now here's the solution to that. You could have done the base times height divided by 2, but I did the 1/2 times base times height just because I wanted to. So now trapezoid. Now this is the complicated one out of all of these. So we need to remember with the trapezoid that the bases are the parallel sides. These right here are not bases. They're the legs of our trapezoid. So the formula for area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times height of the trapezoid times the base 1 plus base 2. The bases don't matter which one you pick. You just add the bases together. And make sure you do that before you multiply. Or if you want to type the whole thing in the calculator with parentheses, that'll work too. So we're going to do the area equals 1/2 times the height. The height is 3. The height connects our 2 bases. Times base 1. So let's say 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. So I can go ahead and simplify that if I want, and I do. I do this in the calculator, and I get, actually I'm doing it in my head, and I get 15 feet squared as my solution. So on the right here is your final area to find on your own. So go ahead, pause the video, do that now. Okay, so here's the solution to that. Check your work with mine. And I just want you to remember that when you're doing this and the practice problems, you may have to do some different things. So please be very careful when you are doing the practice problems. Make sure you're paying attention. Is my unit correct? Am I doing what it's asking? Things like that. But we are done with this video. So go ahead, when you feel comfortable, try some practice problems.